how did you find out that the victim was leaving town the following day?
I can't remember that good.
Was it from a blog?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
It's not leading, Your Honor. Was it from a blog?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what blog was that?
The blonde was Wendi.
No.
Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I
Different
said.
now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. No, that's not
No
right.
further questions.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. How is everybody? Sorry about that. What a way to start a show, huh? Wanted to talk to you guys today about Wendi Adelson's ex-friend. She's talking. And I think the ex is like an important part of this. Now, we've talked about her before on this channel, but it was deep dive true crime mentor lawyer. And really, Renee, thank you, Renee, listener, you brought this to my attention. So this is really his scoop. And if you want to see his video, it's linked in the description of this video. So Sarah Youssef, if you guys forgot who Sarah Youssef was, she was Chesa Boudin, the Weather Underground's child, who became lawyer, who became a district attorney in San Francisco. And it was such a disaster. He was so pro-criminal that he was recalled in San Francisco in 2 years. It very successfully, overwhelmingly recalled. Prosecutors were quitting before that. We'll get into that. We'll go over that again. And Sarah Youssef, unless was his spokesperson, was a friend of Wendy's and suddenly became Wendy's, was described in a discovery document as Wendy's ex-friend. So you guys remember this discovery document? And there was very cryptic, how do I put this? Very cryptic, or cryptic to us because we don't understand what it's referring to. It was very cryptically mentioned that she was in touch with the Markel's lawyer. We didn't know why. All this is explained today. We will get into all of it. It's a very interesting journey from being Wendy's friend to being Wendy's ex-friend. A victim impact statement seems to have moved her to come forward. There's a little spoiler alert for you guys. But before we get into it, I'm going to just get into your comments. We were talking about Donna Adelson last time. So let us get into your comments.
We got your comments. We got your comments. You had something to say. You were insightful. Oh, so clever. So Roberta's going to read your comments. Hey, Roberta, read those comments.
Okay, first one out of the batch is Smurf. 902 says, are they going to bring in the fact that Donna signed all the checks that were given to Katie? Yeah, I think so. She said that directly on the stand. I think that's going to be a major element in Donna's prosecution. It has to be that she was the one signing the checks. She was the one signing. Remember here's Donna at the dental office in charge of all the staff at the dental office signing the checks. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of the defense, the prosecution. And I don't know how the defense is going to answer that. Maybe say, oh, we really thought that Katie was doing a real job. Donna, I mean, they can't say Donna wouldn't know if Katie was cleaning the offices. It's going to be an interesting trial. That's all I have to say. Suzanne, 1423 says, I appreciate you, Roberta. Thank you. And the work you do, you're incredibly tuned in for a person that is not an attorney. I identify with your sense of humor. I just wish the people in the comments would stop blowing smoke up your ass. That is why I don't really like pretty lies and alibis as much. The comments are like stalkers of Gigi, just being honest. Okay, Suzanne, I think that it's really just this case. Mostly the comments. I don't think you've followed my career, Suzanne, on YouTube. I've had plenty of negative comments and a lot of haters and even a few battles, even a few public battles. So thank you. I appreciate the kindness of this audience. Certainly on this case. Mary A. Stone says, Donna is dropping banana breadcrumbs for the investigations. I thought that was so clever. Banana breadcrumbs. Yeah, like she's making her own evidence. I mean, I think that I was thinking about her arrest. And when they found out they were fleeing, I wonder if that's when Georgia Cappleman was like, we got to arrest her now. Not only is she going to flee, so we don't know if we can arrest her in the future, but she's just made some of the best evidence against herself. Her fleeing. Thanks, Donna. And the recorded call. I mean, everything points to her fleeing. And I'm going to talk more a little bit probably about Charlie and how they deny it. The way that this family talks, they never say, I was an innocent man. Maybe someone that, Charlie never says to Donna, maybe someone that Katie knows is going to come forward. Maybe someone, why didn't I tell anyone about the extortion? I was so stupid to keep it all secret. I could have had so many great witnesses for myself. Could have exonerated myself and been out of here. Why did I keep it a secret? Maybe someone that Katie told is going to come forward. Or when is Katie going to finally tell the truth? Notice they never say that. It's always about how horrible Georgia Cappleman is. And even when Georgia Cappleman says to him, you were clever, you were careful, he smiles. He's amused by it. He's not offended that he's being accused of taking part in a murder. We talked about adoptive omissions last episode. It's a huge, I mean, the jury could not have missed that. He's amused by it. I was not a part of it. I was not a part of it. Part of what, Charlie? A part of what? Dance Fever? No, you weren't a part of Dance Fever. What weren't you a part of? It's not a reliable denial if you follow statement analysis, which I think is very interesting. I'm not a statement analyst. A. Jordan says, 1976, what a beautiful letter from Danny's friend. All I can say is Wendi needs to keep his name out of her mouth. Isn't it unbelievable in her police interview where she's saying, it really makes me uncomfortable that you call him Daniel. Everyone calls him Danny. Like, I'm totally comfortable murdering or taking part, in my view. That's my view. She's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. She is an unindicted co-conspirator in this case. Don't sue me, Wendi. But she's like, ice him. Please call him Danny. It feels so impersonal. When she kills him in the most impersonal way, or is alleged to have killed him in the most impersonal way possible. Every time she insincerely refers to him as Danny, it enrages me. Referring to Dan as Danny is obviously reserved for the special people in his life. She obviously doesn't qualify. She, like his friend, said there's no bringing Dan back, but his sons deserve to have a relationship with their paternal father. The heartache that the Markells have endured is cruel and unnecessary. May the Adelsons burn in hell for the atrocities they have committed. Well put. Thanks, A. Jordan. All right, let's get into this without further ado. So, first off, Wendi writes an email to Sarah Youssef asking her, would you consider speaking on my behalf on print? She says on print, not in print. It's so weird. Or news media. I need your help ASAP. If so, I will put you in touch with my lawyer, John Lauro, which makes it sound like she thinks that Sarah Youssef is going to do it for her. Like, oh, it's only a formality asking. So Sarah Youssef writes back, Dear Wendi, I love you and I want to help you so much. So this, by the way, all this exchange took place August 4th, 2016. I love you and want to help you so much. What exactly would you like me to do? Say, here's my concern. I think the prosecutor would then subpoena me to ask about the details of the marriage and our conversations over the past several years. Meaning, I know an awful lot. This is going to open me up to a lot of questioning that's not going to be good for you, Wendi. I wouldn't want them to get additional facts. So she's saying they're facts that she knows and twist and turn them to harm you. Always a defense attorney, Sarah Youssef. I want to keep you safe. Love, Sarah. How would you twist and turn a fact to hurt somebody? But okay. Okay, Sarah. Thanks for that. Thanks for letting us know that you have facts against that would hurt Wendi. It's bizarre. What do you guys think they are? Hard to know, right? So Wendi writes back, no worries, my friend. Love me. Then Sarah Youssef writes, hi, Wendi. And this is August 18th, 2017. So this is like a year later. I've been doing a bunch of deep work on myself to address my anxiety. I discovered that I take on the stress of those around me. I need to take some space to work through this stuff. I hope you will understand and respect how difficult this is for me to send this email. You did nothing wrong, which makes me think that's it sounds like an admission in the negative, doesn't it? You did nothing wrong. Sounds like Wendi, she either figured out that Wendi did something wrong or teed her off somehow. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. Thanks for helping in my journey towards self-love. Love, Sarah. So very much like Wendi, very much the same kind of language, kind of victim language. I love you, Sarah. Please do. So this is what Wendi writes back. I love you, Sarah. Please do what you need to take the best care you can of you. You know that's what I would want for you. I will. Whoop. Sorry. Whoop. I should have stopped that. Sorry, guys. A little too fast. A little too slow on the reading. Please do what you need to take the best care of you. Best care you can of you. That's such an awkward sentence. I had such trouble even rewriting it. I checked it like 7 times. I was like, the best care you can of you. You know that's what I would want for you. I will stop reaching out and trust that if or when you want to have contact with me again, you will take that step. So it sounds like either Wendi knew this was coming or she doesn't feel much for the friendship anyway, or is over it, or has been through this experience before. I don't know. What do you guys think? Curious to know. So cut to December 2023. Sarah Youssef emails Oren Snyder. Now, who's Oren Snyder? He works at Gibson and Dunn in New York City, big law firm here. And he's also been described by The Verge as meet Oren Snyder, the deadliest trial lawyer in tech. This is from 2013. Apple landed its first big blow last week when Snyder decimated Google's witness in eBooks antitrust trial, excuse me. And he also represents the Markel families, Phil and Ruth Markel's lawyer. So Sarah Youssef reaches out to Oren Snyder and says, I write to you, excuse me, that's my mistake. After being moved to tears by Phil Markel's victim impact statement, I was close friends with Wendi from 2003 until 2017. I believe I have information that may be helpful to the Markel family. Please let me know if you're interested in speaking with me. I'm traveling most of today, but will be able to find time to speak tomorrow. Thank you, Sarah Youssef. So sounds very eager to speak with him. Like, here's where I'll be available. I'm eager. I'm ready. We had a long friendship. I know I have information and I'm ready to talk. Pretty incredible. One lawyer talking to another lawyer. And my understanding is that Oren Snyder got in touch with her, and the next time she met, she was in touch with Georgia Kappelman, Jason Newland, the private investigator, and they met in 2024. So whatever she knows about Wendi may come into this trial. And her correspondences, and she was deposed by the defense. So they wanted to know everything that she knew in order to defend Donna properly. But thank you, Deep Dive True Crime, for getting the real dig on that. I thought it was super interesting. And it only made me think of Jane McPherson. Now, I found this interesting for 2 reasons. So If you don't know who Jane McPherson is, it's, hold on one second, I'll share with you. It's Wendy's friend who worked at FSU. I believe she may still work at, wait, hold on one second. Let me make sure. Yeah, I was just about to, share something. I had Jane McPherson's thing up. Sorry about that. Here we go. Jane McPherson, here's her X account. Social worker, teacher, activist, scholar. You can see the banner behind it. Sudden historian. Social work should promote, not violate human rights. Associate professor. Views are mine. Retweet does not equal endorsement. She's now at University of Georgia. And you can tell where her political views, very political, very pro-Palestine. Which I found interesting, being friends with Wendi, who's Jewish. And remember when she came into Wendy's police interrogation, seemed to be buying. She also worked with Jeffrey Lacasse at FSU. So that'll give you some background. So it reminded me a little bit of Sarah Youssef, who worked for Chesa Boudin, who I said, again, was the domestic terrorist, the Weather Underground son, and he became DA of San Francisco and was so pro-criminal. It was a disaster. And when that went down, when prosecutors were quitting, it was Sarah Youssef who came to Chesa Boudin's defense and was the spokeswoman. But I included this article, but it talks about prosecutors saying, like, when you're a district attorney, your job is balance. He's basically disregards the law that he doesn't like, and he disregards the court decisions that he doesn't like to impose his own version of what he believes is just, meaning Chesa Boudin as DA. And that's not the job of the district attorney. The office was headed in such a wrong direction. The best thing I could do is join the effort to recall Chesa as district attorney. The fact that killers may go free just doesn't sit very well with me, Brooke Jenkins said, who recently quit her job as San Francisco prosecutor, and tells the NBC Bay Area investigative unit she has joined the effort to recall Chesa Boudin. In another case, prosecutor Don Dubain said Boudin ordered him to request a more lenient sentence for a man who was convicted of shooting his girlfriend in the stomach. The request, Dubain argues, would have been a violation of state statutes which govern criminal sentences. As a result, Dubain says he withdrew from the case. I've done 136 jury trials in my career, never have withdrawn from a case before. I've seen decisions made in this office in the last year plus since Chesa took over that shocked my conscience, and I've been a prosecutor for 30 years. This is the same thing that's going on with prosecutors all over the country. Now, people don't like when I say this, but this is a fact, and I linked it in. You can actually follow the money here, and I have a little clip of Gascon talking about how he got together with George Soros, and they realized that it didn't take much to get a former defense attorney to win as a DA. Like, you didn't really, so they put together $50 million to run former defense attorneys as prosecutors so that we would no longer have a prosecutor in office who would represent the victim's interest or the people's interests. It would be solely with the accused and convicted interests. So it was like you have in cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, St. Louis. It's like you have two defense attorneys talking to themselves in court, and there's no one there representing the victim, and there's no one there representing the people. It is the most sinister idea. It's like as if we all got together and said, like, hey, I really hate the fact, I'll give you a Charlie Adelson analogy. I really hate the idea that the Patriots lose. Let's just have both teams run the ball to the Patriots side, and it'll just be a bloodbath for the Patriots. That's what it is. So you can check this out. This is it's an interactive map. This was done by the Police Defense Fund. Over the past decade, billionaire George Soros has spent at least $50 million to elect scores of social justice prosecutors across the country. So why am I telling you it? These district attorneys, who represent over 70 million people, or more than 1 in 5 Americans, often pursue pro-criminal and anti-police policies. So what does this have to do with Sarah? Well, I think it's a very interesting journey to go from being the spokesperson for one of the most radical pro-criminal prosecutors ever, to joining forces with the prosecutor because you say you're so moved by the victim impact statement. So I'm really curious if Sarah Youssef, if you're out there and you want to talk, I'd love to hear what you have to say and how if you had a change of heart, or if you just had a change of heart about this case, because she obviously knew all this stuff early on. And was it too close to home? When she worked for Chesa Boudin, did she not make the connection that she was hurting victims' families, helping him out? I'm just very curious about her whole trajectory. I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to look at Jane McPherson and Wendi Adelson. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back in 1 minute.
We don't take a break. Grab a snack or maybe a glass of wine. Roberta will be back in no time. This podcast is listener supported, so smash that like button and subscribe, or become a patron for exclusive content if you are so inclined. Have something to say? Shoot Roberta a super chat. She will do her best to read it all air without delay. Now Roberta's back and ready to put the true back in true crime. Here's Roberta.
I also have some people to thank. It's also the Society Page's birthday. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, Murder by Maestro. Thank you, Society Page. Thank you, Tommy. Happy birthday, Society Page. Hope it's a good one and a good year ahead. I want to thank Renee for this episode. I want to also thank everyone who sent me buy me a coffee. Margaret, Cinderella, Robin, Pulaja, 3814, and Kurt. So I appreciate it. You make live streams like this possible. So let us get into it. So this is really interesting. This is like one of the, when you go down here and you see this is around the most replayed. of all of Wendy's interrogation. And I'm going to play it a little before Jane gets in. And she just breaks in. I mean, people criticize Isom for letting her in, but I didn't think he thought that she was going to kind of take over like she did. I think he thought she was just going to come in and say hello and leave. But she hangs out for quite a while. Let's take a watch.
Or something.
Do we have anything here, or have they all been used?
Somebody who could get. Let me check. This woman is freezing.
And I apologize. I thought about that when she was shivering earlier, but I guess got a lot of stuff going
No,
on.
there's clearly there's a
Not really the most
it isn't.
important thing
It's
right
not the most important thing.
No. I saw her shivering, and I kept thinking I'll go out and find out if there's. They had a bunch of them. They had a bunch of them.
Is coming in here now?
Yes.
Does she know what's going on? Do
I-
Alan and Lynn know what's going on?
I think they know that he's been seriously injured. I don't.
Hi.
Hi, honey. Oh dear. Oh, okay.
I really needed some help, but I'm sorry.
This video on law and crime is so where are we? So odd. That if you even move it forward like a little bit, it gets all out of.
Are things on the news?
It is on the news, but I don't know anything. I know there was a shooting in Danny's blog this morning. That's all I know.
That's all I know.
So you're hearing the voice of Jane McPherson. She's social work professor. She was working in FSU with Jeffrey Lacasse. And she's come into Wendy's interrogation to help Wendi out or to be a friend.
Oh dear, honey. Do you know how he is?
He's not good, Jane.
Really?
I was driving up the street and I saw like the tape and I just thought, oh, maybe there's like an electrical outage or something. Like I saw the street blocked.
So you
I was driving into town. I was running errands. I was meeting some friends for lunch and I drove up Trescott because it's the shortcut. And so I drive up Trescott and I see the tape and I was like, I guess there was like an electrical outage because sometimes we'd have trees that would fall or whatever. And so I turned around and didn't think anything of it. I was at lunch with two friends and the officer shows up. And I've been here since then.
And you don't have a phone?
Well, I had a phone. I said you can search my phone because maybe they can like find something useful on it.
We have to go through a lot of these steps, and that's
Of course,
explaining to her. It's just as much effort to go through the steps to exclude anybody that could possibly be
Well,
involved.
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So we have her phone. As soon as it's taking a little bit longer than normal, and as soon as we get done with the phone, she'll get it back.
Yeah.
So but the main thing I was concerned about is the kids need to be picked up
Well,
on
exactly.
Friday.
Right.
And so when I came and they said they'd spoken to the Grossmans,
Yeah.
I was like, I'll get the kids. I'm a
Right.
social worker. I've picked up kids that don't know me before, but I
Right.
think
I
especially given
I gave
this.
them your name and Lynn's name and
Right.
said, I think like Alan and Lynn have done it. Like when Danny had his back surgery, Alan and Lynn did it before. So, cause I was out
Right.
of town.
And
So
they
like
have, right.
they've
they
done
have.
it before. They've got 4 kids, so they can,
I have, you're gonna be here for a while. You want me to
I think
sit?
so.
So like I might have a blanket in my car or something.
Do we have anything
Do you have
here, or have they
something
all been
for
used?
somebody who could get?
Let me check.
This woman is freezing.
And I apologize. I thought about that when she was shivering earlier, but I guess got a lot of stuff going on.
No, clearly there's
It's not
a,
really the most
it
important
isn't,
thing
it's
right
not the most important thing.
No. I saw her shivering, and I kept thinking I'll go out and find out if there's. They had a bunch of them.
Just Wendi plays the victim so well, doesn't she? Doesn't she? It's enraging. It's enraging listening to it. Oh, get her a blanket. Get her a blanket. I mean, you know the word useful idiots? that's what comes to mind when Jane McPherson is mentioned.
They had a bunch of them, but I don't know what's still available.
So what do you mean he's not good? What do you know about this?
I don't think he's gonna make it.
Oh my God. Really?
Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna tell the kids.
I know.
Let's put that on.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks.
You really don't think that? You know that?
What's that? I'm sorry.
You know that they don't think he's gonna make it through this? Oh,
You're not gonna make it.
really? He's a TMH right now?
Mm.
And I was asking because I thought maybe he would, and I wanted
Right.
I wanted the kids to be
Yes.
with him if like he was okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to try to readjust this and see if I can kind of like reorient it. But every time I move it forward, it gets, I don't know, guys. This is so janky. You can kind of see Jane here in the bottom. Like, he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. And then the forced, ridiculous, heavy breathing she does.
Let's wait on discussing anything with the children.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would do that anyway.
Yeah. I wonder if it would be better if she didn't know. Like if you
It's,
That's
I mean,
just so
here's-
that because she's gonna be that like what if she can't then drive and go get the boys? Like
okay, but let me just say to you, I didn't know anything when I came here. So my husband Googles and says there was a shooting on Trescott Drive this morning at 11.
I got a call from
So-
my
Then she did know. Then her husband told her. What did she had an idea. She's like, I'm all shocked. Really? There's a shooting? She's going to a police station to meet Wendi. There's a shooting at her old house where her ex-husband lives. She couldn't put that together as a PhD with a PhD? Come on. But my husband Googles. I didn't know anything, but my husband Googled. Did we just hear? Did we or did we not? Am I in bizarro land? Did we or did we not just hear her go, really? What? He's not going to make. What does she think she's there for?
real estate agent who heard something.
So I know that I didn't know why I was coming here, but anybody with more sense would have known that.
John told you that
Yes.
when you told him you were coming here? Or?
No, they found John. Interestingly, they found John's cell phone number.
They found me eating lunch. I don't know how that happened. I'm fascinated still.
We have ways of finding.
Yeah, it's interesting. So they called my husband's cell phone, and he was like, here she is. Talked to her, and they said you needed me at the police department, so I came.
Right.
It was not a.
What did you think I needed you for?
I wasn't thinking it was good news, but I didn't. My thought was that Danny had probably assaulted you. That was my thought.
I think that was Lisa's thought when she's like, I heard there was a shot on Trescott.
So
She thought Danny assaulted her. So that will give you an idea of what Wendi told everybody. That Danny was a monster, that Danny was capable of violence, that Wendi should be very afraid of him. And even if I think she had them all brainwashed against Dan Markell, that if anything happened to her, and what a way to protect herself, right? It's pretty smart, because if anything happens and your friends are suspicious that you had anything to do with it, and if it plays out like it did with the shooters being Tweedledee and Tweedledum shooting the gas line, etc., or whatever, their car, and it comes back to you or your brother, you might say, well, it's better that he's no longer on planet Earth. He wasn't a great guy. He wasn't great to women. He was an affront to women. And even if Wendi did have something to do with it, it was really like self-defense. Pretty clever, right? Pretty clever. Pretty smart, Wendi.
So I hope you're okay.
So
The
that
realtor.
Yeah.
So that was my, but this scenario, which is now not seeming real to me,
Yeah,
didn't
well, me
seem
neither.
like was not what I
Me neither,
what I
but
thought of.
I just keep picturing the kids.
Right. No. So there's no point in doing that. Don't do that. So
When Lynn gets here, I'm gonna just ask her to take the kids to her house. Would that be
Instead of my
reasonable?
house?
I think
Would that
that's
be
much
more
better.
reasonable?
Is that better? She has a TV. They can
Yeah,
watch TV.
yeah,
I know, but
Yes.
they've been there before.
A
Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah,
they're
take
very-
When Lynn, she goes, I just keep thinking about the kids. And really, what are you thinking about the kids? End of sentence. Wouldn't you if you were really thinking about the kids? She was never thinking about the kids. It was always all about Wendi, all the time. I'm so curious. There's another case that's very much like this that I talked about, the Marshall case, where he had 3 boys. It was a murder by hire of Maria Marshall. And those sons woke up. They except the youngest, who supported him till he died in prison. He originally got the death sentence, but he hired men to murder his wife when he was coming home when they were both coming home from. He got a bump on the head they were both coming home from Atlantic City, and he got caught in a million lies by the boys. This is the subject of Joe McGinnis's book Blind Faith. But the 2 eldest boys, the middle and the oldest, woke up by the end of the trial and really had nothing to do with him after he was convicted. But the youngest, John, always stuck by him and always thought it was a wrongful conviction. And on death row, he had a whole class make a documentary about him, proclaiming Marshall's innocence. So he was still and even wrote a book, which I have. I don't know if there's enough interest to even cover it, but I have a called Tunnel Vision. It's so cliche. You could more cliche title. You could for an innocence fraud book, but he eventually, so his death sentence eventually got commuted to life, and he was up for parole, but he died before. I think he died either after his first parole hearing or before it.
very comfortable there.
They have children of their own.
They've got 4 kids. They're grown, but
take them there.
Okay, yeah.
So I wonder if that's what's going to happen with Wendi's kids, if they sit through her trial, or if they start watching Charlie's trial or Donna's trial, because they're very precocious and very smart from what I hear, if they're going to start putting the pieces together. But when it's the only family that it's very hard to break free. The oldest son of the Marshall boys married Tracy Gold from Family Ties, and he was on wife swap, and they lived this kind of very regimented. He had a lot of kids with Tracy Gold, I believe, like 3 or 4 kids with Tracy Gold. And I always thought that was to replace what he lost, because your one parent has been murdered, and it's like you're destroying any kind of family that you have. And I'm sure the Markel side would welcome them with open arms, but they don't know them. They're strangers, almost strangers at this point. They've only had a little bit of contact thanks to the Adelsons. It's so disturbing, this case, in all aspects.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go make sure that I don't miss her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lynn Grossman, right?
This is Sarah, by the way.
Hi, Sarah. Are you a victim advocate? I am.
I said you used to be a victim advocate. Was that
That's
right?
not true. Yeah, I've done lots of stuff like that.
I recognize your name, and then she explained.
What's your last name?
Latour. I've only been here about 2.5 years.
I am losing my shit.
Well, that would be appropriate. I think you should do that. I think if you don't do that, that's
Jane,
not right.
Who would have done this?
I have just
And
one
are they
idea.
going to come after my kids? Or me. Who's next?
Is Jeff this much of a lunatic?
I don't even think of Jeff.
I didn't even think of Jeff. I only framed him as the patsy. So did Sarah Yusuf know something about this? So I'm looking to Jane as a proxy for Sarah. That's why I wanted to look at this, because we don't know what Sarah says. We don't have access. Gosh, I would love to, sneak into the defense office. I would never do it. I don't even live in the same state. I would never do it. I'm just saying, if I were a fairy or something supernatural, and love to take a peek at what she said. We're going to have to wait a couple weeks, more than a few weeks till Donna's trial to find out. What does Sarah know? Any guesses out there? Just use the, send me a comment. Let me know what you guys think.
I hope to God not.
Use the, what do you call it? The emoji, the red emoji. Question mark emoji. Sorry, guys.
May I ask who Jeff?
I was up late last night. I've been cat sitting for my bestie girlfriend. The cat was like, just like got the Zooms last night and keeping me up. So I've only had a couple hours of sleep. Be patient with me today.
Yeah, of course.
I think you should. I think Wendy's been seeing a guy called Jeff,
Who's a friend of Jane's. And
who's jealous.
yeah.
Are you still currently seeing him, or just something you kind of
Well,
let taper off?
it's been a bad week.
Okay.
Yeah, Jane and I actually went for a walk together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, earlier this week.
But you've taken a 1 week break from
I took
Jeff.
a 1 week break from communication with Jeff to figure out what to do.
Okay.
Because we've been dating for like
A year.
9 months, so like 10 months a year.
And when you use the word dating to you, that's my boyfriend, or is it more of just dating, like the casual? Okay.
Yeah.
No, like he was my boyfriend and involved with the kids, and I mean, yeah. And we had kind of a fight recently.
Well, anyone who's not talking is still Wendy's ally. Someone is still her ally. Anyone who's not talking is complicit in some ways, is supporting Wendi. I mean, even if it wouldn't be useful, I think Wendi is very careful. I think if we're waiting for any kind of big admission from Sarah Yusuf, I think it's going to be much more. I don't think she would have confessed the way she did to Jeffrey Lacasse, because Jeffrey Lacasse was supposed to be the madman fall guy for this. And I think the point was, I've made episodes about this, was Jeffrey Lacasse was supposed to be the man saying, well, Wendi told me that Charlie hired a hitman a year ago for $15,000 or $50,000, and everyone was supposed to laugh at him. Who's laughing now? He turned out to be a great witness, but he was supposed to be, everyone was supposed to turn and say, oh, well, of course you're going to say that because you're the suspect. You're the number one suspect in this. He was the one who's supposed to be convicted for this. So no one was going to listen to him. So I don't think there's going to be any kind of big admission. I think it's going to be more the way that Wendi reacted. That's my take. I think if anybody's waiting for any kind of big, juicy piece of evidence that Wendi's left, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. She has been trained as a lawyer, is trained to protect herself. Don't write anything down. Don't say anything. If you say anything, make sure you can have plausible deniability. She really misjudged with, and maybe alcohol was involved. If Jeffrey Lacasse is correct that she was drinking heavily, and it just kind of came out in a need to get, people have a need to confess, even psychopaths like Wendi Adelson. They lie a lot, but they tell the truth a lot too. It's really hard to tell with psychopaths what's the truth and what's a lie. But I'm really curious what Sarah Yusuf observed. If I had to guess, it would be her absolute disinterest in who did it. And maybe what she observed about maybe her getting ready to exit Tallahassee early. Maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think?
And he's been trying to get back together, and I didn't know if I wanted to, and so he actually, the morning that I gave that talk, my boys were there and Jeff was watching them, so I could give the talk. Like he's, Jane, do you think I have to tell them about him?
I think you have to tell them about him, because that is the only.
Well, this is a phenomenon. Okay, here's a question from Jane Cressman. So she has a steady boyfriend, some guy named Jorge. Does this guy have a death wish? Well, I mean, this is a phenomenon you see all the time in true crime. Carla Homolka got married and had kids. She's divorced now. Amanda Knox is married with kids. There is a type of man who's not scared away by that kind of reputation. It may be titillated. I think there's a kind of really sexist trope attached to hybristophilia, but I think maybe men have it too. I think it may be a turn on for some men. And I think some men are just useful idiots and believe that these people are really innocent. I know with Amanda Knox's husband, he approached me on Twitter and tried to start trying to turn me around on her innocence. Now, I started out believing she was innocent and supporting her when the friends of Amanda wrote into Oprah, and this is right as the case happened. So I just found out that almost everything in that letter was untrue, or a lot of it. But the minute I mentioned Philomena's room, which is the room of the stage break-in and all the mixed blood or the mixed DNA that lit up under luminol, which I think we can assume is blood between Amanda and Meredith Kircher in multiple places in the house, Amanda Knox's husband blocked me. So it's like they don't want to see, they don't want to know, like just can't believe. I think any kind of group crime is very hard to believe, hard to imagine. Dean Walker, nice to see you. Thanks so much for supporting the show. I appreciate it. Is anyone else? Did I miss anyone else's comment? Did anyone else have another idea about this? All right. If you I missed it, shoot it to me again. I hope I didn't miss any of your ideas. I'm just curious what other people think.
The only thing that I can imagine related to you, related to Danny, would be
the only
Jeff.
thing I could come up with was like his girlfriend Amy is recently divorced, separated, not really divorced.
Sure. So
what if,
either of those people,
like the jealous boyfriend types, like what if the ex-husband?
Right, totally. And you know that this divorce has been very stressful, and Jeff has been very stressed out by the stressfulness of your divorce.
Jeff has been very stressed out by the stressfulness of your divorce, not dealing with a high maintenance, hard to deal with, psychopathic Wendi. It's their divorce. Will she plead the fifth? Marcy, she came to the prosecution with stuff to say. No, she's not going to plead the fifth. She wants to talk. And we'll listen to Phil Markell's impact statement that moved her so. But yeah, no, she's not going to take the fifth. She's going to talk. But what she's going to say, that's what I'm so curious about. We all have to be so curious about it, right?
You know,
I mean, I'll tell them this, right? Like, can you tell them?
And when investigator Isom comes back, you guys can just, say, and he'll ask all the questions that investigators ask that I don't think of very often because I'm a victim advocate and I don't think of
Right,
things.
but I think you do have to tell about him.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You weren't
Not
thinking
telling
of him.
on purpose.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I wasn't thinking of it. I just kept thinking, like, who in the world?
Is he someone that has, access to?
He's a professor of social work.
Okay.
He's
All right.
former military.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But
you don't think about this guy as like, oh, there's the kind of guy.
Right.
I mean, I would more just as like say that maybe you did this.
Right.
It's just relationally, he's jealous.
Right.
Something is bad. This and that.
He's jealous because Wendy made him jealous by being on multiple dating apps. Top Cat 88, he's irrationally jealous. For some reason, he doesn't like Wendy sleeping with other men. Amazing. Top Cat, or allegedly sleeping with other men. That's what the prosecution alleges. Top Cat 88 says, I think Sarah realized Wendy had lied to her about Dan being abusive. Beyond that, not sure. Yeah, that's a good take, Top Cat, from maybe Phil Markel's description in the victim impact statement. We're going to listen to that in a minute. Let's listen to how they throw Jeffrey Lacasse under the bus here.
He's bad. I'm just assuming that this isn't true for the moment, but I guess that's not so.
And you have to look at it this way. Telling them this, if anything, will help them disqualify Jeri.
That's important to do.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to give them his number?
I don't. I mean,
I
can give them.
They have my phone, so
they certainly have a ton of stuff.
She wants Jane to do it. She doesn't want to be the one that brought up Jeffrey Lacasse. She didn't even think of him, right? Till Jane brought him up after she just, strangely with laryngitis, had a long walk complaining all about Jeffrey Lacasse to Jane. Are these dumb criminals or smart criminals, or dumb and smart criminals? So I'm of the opinion that they're not criminally sophisticated, but they did plan this as much as they could. They just trusted the wrong people. And Charlie had a big mouth. I don't know if they could have pulled this off. I don't know. What do you guys think?
From him. So I Googled Trescott shooting.
Thank you for being here. So you Googled Trescott shooting, and what do you see?
Just that, police investigate shooting on Trescott Drive.
And it's on the news.
And unfortunately, the media here tends to get places, and they can't really stop them from being outside.
How often is there shooting in like northeast Tallahassee, right?
On Trescott Drive,
On
not so
Trescott?
often.
This is what I can't figure out. How did he get to the hospital? Like, did he call 911?
No, a neighbor, according to WCTV, here.
And this should be said, the police department won't release his name until they notify
the family.
And them being in Canada puts a little bit more of a wrench into our notification because it's a little bit more difficult to do internationally. But we're in the process.
And there's really, his injuries are really terrible.
The police got notified because a neighbor. Is it a picture of the house? Oh my God! You can see the car. You can't tell it's our house.
Well, yeah, right. You can't tell it's not your house. It certainly appears to be a house like your house.
And they say the 2100 block of Trescott Drive. It must be still blocked off. I bet it's going to be blocked off for a while.
It's certainly a crime scene, obviously a crime scene.
But it's like a thorough. I mean, a lot of people use that as like a drive-through.
Now, this other.
She says it's like a thorough. It's almost like she was going to say it's a throughway, but she's saying it's a thorough investigation. I get the feeling she's terrified the whole time here. She's going to be arrested. As soon as she could get the farthest away she could get, all she wants to do is do her bit of acting and get the heck out of there.
People obviously know about this. Danny did show up places today.
I don't know that he had anywhere to show up today. Did he?
Yeah.
Like, did you know? Because like it's summertime, he works from home, right?
Right, but there are people.
See, they planned this out. This was part of their thinking. She's letting us know their thinking. It's summertime. No one will be looking for him. There'll be plenty of time for the killers to get away. Makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
But you know, imagine if any of us fall off the grid from 11 o'clock this morning, any colleagues,
That had a meeting or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
all of the stuff he does over the phone.
Right. Well, he and I were supposed to talk about where Ben was going to school. And it was very unlike him that I was the one who had to call him. So like he called early this morning. I had a repair guy at the house. And he called early this morning and I left a message and then I called him back. I have the phone record. He called at like 9 and he told me he went to Premiere. So he says, I don't know, like I think he went straight from dropping off the boys to go to Premiere. And then he said, I'm going to do an exercise class that gets out at 10:15 or 10:30 and then we can talk after that. You remember how I had a voice thing? Like I hadn't talked to him. He was like, I know your voice is bad. Like, does today work? And he said we could go for a walk at the law school or we could talk.
She had a voice thing. But that didn't stop her from talking to Jane on a long walk all about Jeffrey Lacasse. Unbelievable, this thing. All right, I'm going to leave it here with this. But before I go, I usually read a victim impact letter. I thought that we'd listen to the victim impact letter. This is from Murder by Maestro's channel. Thank you for fixing the audio on this. This is from Charlie's trial. This is from the sentencing phase. And Phil Markel reads his victim impact letter. This is the victim impact letter that Sarah Youssef said moved her so much it caused her to come forward with the information that she'd been sitting on for years. You know, courage is contagious also. It may inspire I know other people know things in this case. They always do. Maybe other people will come forward. One can always hope.
We're going to start with the victim impact statements. Mr. Markel, I understand you are going to provide it today on behalf of the family.
Yes, thank you.
You may speak when you're ready. Take all the time you need.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Phil Markel. I am Dan Markel's father. Dan, my only son, was born October 9, 1972 in Montreal, Quebec. During that time in Quebec, husbands were not allowed to actually be in the delivery room during a child's birth. However, since the obstetrician was a very close friend of ours, I was allowed to experience the most amazing of moments, the birth of my son. I will never forget the emergence of his head, and then those shoulders of an NFL football fullback, a boy of 10 pounds. There I was, holding in my arms this gift of life, my bundle of absolute sheer joy. From the time he was a child, my son had tremendous energy, intelligence, and great warmth. Dan had a vibrant, fun-loving personality and lived life to its fullest. Danny loved to socialize, dance, cook, entertain, and play sports, and dedicated himself wholeheartedly to everything that he did. He always looked to do his utmost to improve and achieve better results in every activity that he did. This desire of improvement and commitment to excellence was a defining characteristic of his short life. I fondly remember taking Danny skiing up the hills of the Laurentian Mountains in Quebec when he was just 2 years old. He rode up the mountain between my legs, holding on to the T-bar, and then coming down the ski hill, yelling with great joy, "Faster, Daddy, faster!" Then, as he grew a little older, he played hockey at the local park. To improve his skating skills, he requested to take a speed skating lesson with a local coach who was from Russia, and he had a reputation of being a very tough coach. Dan persevered, and after every hockey lesson, he came off the ice with a red face, totally out of breath, because he always gave it his all. At about the age of 13, Danny developed the idea that he was going to Harvard University for his college education. He discovered that the acceptance requirements for Harvard were not only good grades, but also work for the community and charitable work. To achieve these goals, he revived his high school newspaper. He became the newspaper's editor, the business manager, and performed charitable deeds and volunteered in the community. After years of hard work and determination, Dan was accepted to Harvard. He graduated from Harvard magna cum laude, went on to study at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem for 1 year, and then earned a master's of philosophy and political theory from Emmanuel College at the University of Cambridge in England. He returned thereafter to Harvard Law School to earn his law degree, and went on to become an extremely successful lawyer, influential legal scholar. Dan served as a law clerk for a federal judge, worked as an associate at a prestigious law firm in Washington, D.C., and then secured a prestigious teaching position at FSU College of Law. In a few short years, Dan became a full tenured law professor before the tender age of 41, quite unusual. Dan co-authored a book and published many articles in highly regarded law journals and newspapers like the New York Times. Dan's work was influential, and he gave lectures and presented at universities around the world. Although Dan was fond of his Canadian roots, he was very dedicated to the FSU Law School and the Tallahassee community. He was recognized as a scholar who contributed and made a difference in the world. While Dan's career was important to him, family meant everything to Dan. Dan's marriage produced 2 boys, Benjamin and Lincoln, who were his absolute world and a love thing to him. Dan made sure that he and the boys came to Montreal. Dan made sure that he and the boys came to Montreal and Toronto to attend every family affair and visit with all the extended Markel family, including grandparents, uncles, aunts, and many numerous cousins. Despite the distance, Dan felt that the boys had to know and be a part of the family. Dan also made sure that he and the boys participated in the Tallahassee community. They were involved in the local synagogue and neighborhood. Dan left home at the young age of 17 to go to Harvard, but he always came home for summer vacation, holidays, and all family functions. Danny and I, despite the fact that we lived quite far apart, regularly communicated by text, email, and phone calls. Despite the physical distance, as time moved on, we grew ever so much closer. At Dan's suggestion, we would plan to talk and have a meal together. At the appointed day and time, we each would prepare our meals, set our tables with a tablet in the middle, and over Skype, we would sit together and enjoy each other's company for a couple of hours despite the actual distance. Dan's life was abruptly cut short, and he was forever taken from me, his boys, and the rest of our family, and all his many friends and colleagues. My life has been in total disarray since Dan's murder. Many nights I wake up in the middle of the night in a terrible sweat with thoughts of Dan's murder and all that has happened. There is not a single day in my life since Danny's death that in one way or another he does not enter into my thoughts. and I miss him with all my heart. I'm constantly reminded of Dan's murder and his absence. When I meet new people, the topic of discussion always comes up when they ask whether I have children. How do I respond? It is difficult to put into words the heinous acts that took Danny away from us, the unthinkable pain that I must live with every single day. Losing a son or a daughter is something I wish nobody should have to experience. It's not in the order of nature. Danny is never coming back. We continue to hope and pray for justice and the return to normalcy of seeing and playing a vital role in the lives of our two grandsons, Ben and Lincoln. It has been a number of years since I last wrote a victim impact statement, sharing how Danny's death has affected me. Despite our persistent efforts, we still do not have a real relationship with Danny's sons, Ben and Lincoln. Visits are limited and very controlled. For 6 years, we were denied any and all visits with the boys. In the last 2 years, I've been permitted 2 60 to 90-minute visits, supervised visits. This limited contact is incredibly painful, and I feel like we have cut out of our lives. Not only have I lost my son, but I have effectively lost 2 of my grandkids as well. Even their family names have been changed from Markel to Adelson. While we work hard to help introduce a new bill in the state of Florida known as the Markel Act, which gives grandparents important rights, unfortunately, our relationship with Ben and Lincoln has not been materially improved. As this bill was coming to fruition, there was a lot of negative publicity in the press and media about Danny's ex-wife, Wendi. In my opinion, Wendi was focused on improving her public image, and as a result, extended an invitation to us to Ben's bar mitzvah. Ruth and I were invited to attend only the ceremonial part of this important stage in the Jewish boy's life. And we were not invited to participate in any reception typical of this celebration. But this invitation opened the door to one of the limited visits described above. In order not to overwhelm Ben and Lincoln on this important day, we asked to arrange a meeting before the bar mitzvah in order to make things easier on the boys, who we hadn't been allowed to visit in years. We were able to arrange a brief 90-minute supervised visit with Ben and Lincoln, and a few weeks before the bar mitzvah. However, immediately after our brief visit, Charlie was arrested, and Wendi rescinded our invitation to the bar mitzvah. At the time, she said that they were going to either postpone or completely cancel this bar mitzvah ceremony. Neither of those happened. Excuse me.
Take your time, sir.
Instead, my understanding is that the Adelsons went on to have the bar mitzvah ceremony and party, all without the Markel family's presence or participation. Missing out on this important moment in Ben's life was incredibly painful. After so many years without Danny, we had hoped to make progress in forging a consistent relationship with his sons in this important life cycle event. Dan's murder brought his life abruptly to an end for no sensible reason and has affected a countless number of people. The legal community is deprived of Dan's wisdom and ideas, which made the world a better place. Dan's students are deprived of the experience of having Dan as a brilliant professor and caring mentor, showing them a path. Dan's colleagues can no longer benefit from Dan's friendship, insights, and scholarly discussions and debates. Ruth and I have been deprived of our son, who has been taken away from us so suddenly and totally against life schedule. Ben and Lincoln must go through life without their father, who loved them with all his being. The boys have been deprived of their father's entire family after Dan's murder. We have no idea of what these two boys know or have been told about Danny's death. I truly believe that they have been brainwashed in all these years, from the ages of 3 and 4 years of age to the present day. I also have no idea what the boys know of us, the entire Markel family, our history, etc., and especially how much we all love them and how we wish they were active part of our family. Both Ruth and I are approaching 80 years of age. At this moment, we are healthy, but one does not know what tomorrow brings. The wheels of justice turn very, very slowly, but so far we're very grateful that they're still turning. We're very grateful to Tallahassee law enforcement, to the state attorney and all their staff, to all our relatives and friends, including the hundreds of Danny's friends and colleagues around the world, for their constant support over these long 10 years. To all the podcasters who work hard to keep alive this unbelievable story. We are still waiting for Benjamin and Lincoln to have a more normal relationship with the Markel family as we wait in pain and anguish. The Adelson family, in particular Charlie Adelson, has been a major cause of our heartbreak and the murder of our son Danny and the loss of our 2 grandsons. I have suffered tremendously, and we as a family continue to suffer. It is satisfying to see justice being done, and it would be appropriate to ask for the maximum sentence for the perpetrators of Danny's murder. Thank you. Today is a good day.
Please rise. I'm now going to announce the sentence.
Okay. This is kind of interesting. I haven't seen this in a while. So the part that made me think that might have woken up Sarah Youssef is the part where Phil Markel says, I truly believe that Ben and Lincoln have been brainwashed. And did that make Sarah Youssef think that maybe she had been brainwashed by Wendi against Dan Markel? I mean, obviously the anguish is palpable. I don't know how that couldn't affect a person, but to be so close to it. And I'm curious as to what caused Sarah Youssef to pull away even before this victim impact statement for her anxiety. When she said you did nothing wrong, I didn't believe that. I believe that something Wendi did. And was it her realization of Wendy's alleged involvement as an unindicted co-conspirator in this case that made her wake up? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm really curious to read. We're just going to watch a little bit of Charlie getting sentenced. And then I just haven't seen Charlie weekly maintain his innocence. Let's watch it.
As to count 2, you are going to be sentenced consecutively to 30 years in the Department of Corrections for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. As to count 3, you are going to be sentenced to 30 years in the Department of Corrections consecutively for solicitation to commit first-degree murder.
Oh, I guess that's not included. He says, I'd like to maintain my innocence or whatever. I guess murder by Meister. I guess that comes next. Wow. Kind of shocking to watch, right? It's a little preview of what we're going to see with Donna. I guess you cut that part out where he said, "You have anything to say?" He's like, "I'd like to admit, I maintain my innocence." Nice cutting that out. Murder by Maestro. He's like, "I don't care what Charlie had to say." I felt like watching that. That's like preview of what we're going to see with Donna. Be shocked if she doesn't get convicted. I mean, shocking things do happen. Anybody remember O.J. Simpson's case? Juries can go any way, but I think she's toast. I haven't been impressed by Alec Morris, and I thought maybe he'd be some kind of superstar lawyer. So let's see. All right. Please hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, share this episode, support the show, and I'll be back Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody.
What a stitch you're in. You plotted a murder 'cause you wanted to raise your daughter's kid. Tallahassee is just a stop on the way to civilization. Miami is where all the fancy people are. The TV is a Power 5. You can't get away from that. Two-toe, tay-toe, hoo-ho, you know the guy you pay, and you can't get away from that. Oh, Donna, what a stitch you're in. You thought jail was just for the little people, but now you're sold blankets with the locked up crew. You're a grandmother in lockdown, and your one-way ride to freedom you blew. What a stitch you're in. Your family are exiled from the social circles you swam in. We all know you never made that banana bread or offered to babysit for Dan, but you'll soon be making license plates and thinking about